Hey there, in a very last video we saw about the magnetic tapes in the secondary storage devices. Now in this video particularly we will be focusing on magnetic disks. Magnetic disks are the most popular direct access secondary storage devices nowadays. Okay, they are also the most popular online secondary storage devices. That means whenever we use cloud services like in Google OneDrive, like in Google Drive, so these disks are used in cloud services as well. We have a lot of cloud services available in the market right now. So magnetic disks, right now if we talk about the magnetic disk, it's a thin circular plate or a platter, we call it, of a metal or a plastic. It could be a metal or it could be a plastic also. It's a its surfaces, both the surfaces of this disk have a coating, usually of iron oxide. This coating is of iron oxide. Okay, so that can record data by magnetization. If you remember, in the last video we talked about the magnetization, the magnetized and non-magnetized spots or pits we call them, and those pits represent zeros and ones, which later on helps us to distinguish between the recorded and unrecorded data. This header actually is responsible for reading the data of magnetized and non-magnetized this surface. Okay, so data is recorded on its coating surfaces as a tiny invisible magnetized and non-magnetized spots. Like in case of magnetic tapes, as we have read, we can erase old data and we can record a new data on magnetic disks as well. Same is the case in here as in case of the disks. Okay, now we will be talking about the basic organization of the magnetic disks. Okay, so a magnetic disk surface has a number of invisible concentric circles called tracks. These, the one like this, and the second like this, and the third, and so on, these are called tracks. Okay, and similarly the tracks have a number consecutively from outermost to the innermost, starting from 0. That means it's in this way, starting from 0. Okay, number of tracks varies greatly, with low capacity disks having a few as 40 tracks only, and high capacity disk is having a several thousand tracks. Okay, it could go up to the several thousand tracks. All right, a magnetic disk surface also has invisible pie-shaped segments. These are invisible, these are virtual, these are not the physical marking on the disk, they are the virtual marking. Okay, this pie-shaped segment, hence if there are 8 such segments in the disk, each segment has 8 parts. Okay, each such part, this very part, 1 2 3 4 5 6 so on, this each part is called a sector. Okay, this is called a sector. Those were called as tracks, whole tracks. This one is called as a sector. Okay, nice. Now disk drivers can access, or they can write a complete sector at a time. Okay, even if a computer needs to change just one byte out of chunk of bytes. Okay, out of chunk of bytes stored on that sector, that particular sector, it rewrites the entire sector. That means if we have to change just this one bit or one byte over here, the header has to rewrite whole of the sector in this case. Okay, to access a piece of a data, that means a record from a disk, we need to specify a disk address for it. Okay, we have to find the disk address, which represents the physical location of the record on the disk. Okay, now I'll be writing it over here, that disk address, we can say disk address is comprised of sector number. Okay, and it contains a track number. Okay, it contains a surface number. All right. Normally a disk pack does not use the upper surface of the topmost disk and the surface of the bottommost disk, okay, lower surface of the bottommost disk, because these surfaces get scratched easily. Okay, however, the modern disk drives use miniaturization, we call the miniaturization and precision components to eliminate these drawbacks. That means nowadays we can use the uppermost and the lowermost surfaces of the disk. Okay, now let me tell you the storage capacity over here. What is storage capacity? Storage capacity is equal to the number of surfaces, that is recorded surfaces, multiplied by number of tracks per surface, okay, per surface, multiplied by number of sectors per track, okay, and multiplied by number of bytes per sector. This is the total storage capacity of the disk. So now let me tell you the access time of a disk. Okay, it depends on the following three parameters. And what are those three parameters? First one is seek time, second is latency, third is transfer rate. What are they? What is the seek time? First of all, this is the time required to position the read-write head, this read-write head, on a specified track. This read-write head, which track it has to go on, okay, the time this read-write head takes to reach that particular track is called a seek time. Similarly, if we talk about the latency, this is the time required to spin the specific sector under the head. Specific sector, that means this head comes on a surface, for example, over there, and now it has to find the particular sector, which particular sector has to go under this read-write head. This time, the time which it takes from one sector to reach on the that particular sector which we are looking for, that time which it takes is called a latency time. Okay, and thirdly, the transfer rate is a rate at which a computer reads or writes data from or to a disk into the memory. This is simple, that the data which we are fetching or which we are writing to the disk, the time which it takes to do the same process is called the transfer rate. I hope you have understood till now. Now we will be focusing on the types of magnetic disks. What are the different types of magnetic disks and what are they? We will read them one by one also. Okay, we can see this is the magnetic disk portion. Okay, in it we have a floppy disks, we have a hard disks. Okay, we will read floppy disks, we will read hard disks also, but in hard disks we have zip or Bernoulli disks, we have disk packs, and we have Winchester disks, and we will see them separately also. All right, so what is a floppy? First of all, we will talk about the floppy disk. What is a floppy disk? Look, floppy disk is a flat, we can say it's a flat circular piece of a flexible plastic coated with a magnetic oxide. It is a flexible plastic coated with a magnetic oxide on it. Okay, it is encased in a square plastic. That means it is a circular disc, flexible plastic disc, and it is enclosed in a square plastic, or we can say a vinyl jacket cover. This is called the vinyl jacket cover. Okay, The jacket gives handle protection to this jacket gives the handle protection to the surfaces of the disk which is placed inside it. Now floppy disks are so called. Why are they called this floppy disk? Because they are made of flexible plastic plates. They are flexible, they are not hard, that can bend easily. They are also known as floppies. We call them floppies, or we can call them diskettes. Okay. And firstly, IBM has introduced them in 1972, when it was the first when floppy disks were introduced. Okay. Now we will see the hard disks, and in hard disks we have this is zip or Bernoulli disk. What zip and Bernoulli disk is, we will see it. Look, first of all, this is the zip, or we can call it a Bernoulli disk. What is it? This is a single, or we can say it consists of a single hard platter encased in a plastic cartridge. Okay, depending on the disk drive and size of the disk, storage capacity varies from 8 GB to that of the 500 GB, or even more than that. This was about zip or Bernoulli disks. Now disk packs are these. We can say that it consists of multiple, or these are the multiple, or two or more than two hard disk platters mounted on a single central shaft. It is a single central shaft like this, and these are mounted on it, and they are at least two, and it can go more than them. Okay, all disks revolve together at a same speed. That means this makes it revolve at the same speed. Okay, its disk drive has a separate read-write head for each usable disk surface. Okay, now this is what we call a Winchester disk, and those are the most popular disks used nowadays. And a Winchester disk consists of a multiple or two or more disks, and these are the disks, and they are placed one after other. Okay, hard disk platters mounted on a single central shaft. This is a single central shaft, and it is vertically placed in here, and multiple disks are then placed on it. However, unlike a disk pack drive, a Winchester disk drive is a fixed type. It's a fixed type. That means it can't be separated. That is, it is a hard disk platter and a hard drive are sealed together in a contamination free container and cannot be separated from each other. Okay, hence Winchester disks have limited capacity. They have a limited capacity. We have a use of magnetic disks. Where we use magnetic disks, the following uses are: first is processing applications. Okay, applications. Secondly, we can say they are used in online storage. Thirdly, we can say they can be used as a backup of data. Okay, and they can be used for archiving data. Okay, on occasionally when used. And fifth, we can say we can transfer data from one computer to the other computer. They are unlinked to each other with the internet or with some cable, so we can transfer data using these disks. Okay, those were the few uses of these disks. I hope you have completely understood today's topic about the magnetic disks, and in the next video we will hopefully be focusing on optical disks. Okay, and one by one we will be focusing on each secondary storage device, and we will try to finish them as soon as possible. And lastly, my gentle request to you that to kindly subscribe my channel and do like, share my videos, so that I get little more motivated to make future videos for you, and you will get benefited from this. Till then, take care of your good self. Thank you very much.